Hi, Tanishka. Thank you for joining me for this female spiritual entrepreneur series. How are you?
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and hello to everybody that's tuning in.
Great. So let's kick off with the first question. So, for those of us who don't know about your work already, tell us what you do.
Oh, okay. Well, I teach ancient women's wisdom teachings. So, in other words, the sort of info that really is your birthright that you should have been told when you became a woman, kind of like the manual that we didn't get. We got the physical stuff. We might have got like a pad and a hot water bottle, but it kind of ended there. So what we didn't get were the mystical teaching. So understanding that we are cyclic beings and how to caretake our needs in a cyclic way. So I teach women how to live in tune with the moon. I've got a daily blog. A lot of people know me as the Moon Woman. We've got over 500,000 people in that community following my daily lunar updates. And I teach women to facilitate red tent circles at new moon to help them balance their emotions and caretake their needs. And I also teach women how to activate their goddess mojo.
Oh, nice. So, Tanishka, I'm actually really excited because I've signed up for your Inner Goddess course, which is starting next month, right?
Right, with the equinox.
So, tell everyone about that because I'm just so excited about it and I want other women to know about it too.
Oh, bless you. Okay, well, basically, there's all this, sort of hijacking of the word goddess. Corporations are using the word goddess to sell everything from razors to shampoo. And it gives this false belief that a goddess is, sort of some perfect ideal woman. And that's actually nothing could be further from the truth. If a woman is, stuck in some head trip trying to be perfect, she's actually going to become more and more disempowered, okay, because she's trying to live up to some projection. A goddess is a woman who has unveiled and learnt to empower the 7 different facets of our feminine psyche that govern the 7 major energy centers known as chakras. And this is just the first stage. The second stage is then empowering the 7 masculine aspects so that we're whole. A woman is, somebody who's looking for her other half, somebody who doesn't feel complete, whereas a goddess is a woman who is whole, who is holy because she's become self-fulfilling. She's learnt how to honor all the aspects of her soul, her psyche, which is both masculine and feminine. So in the course, we journey 1 chakra a month and we meet one of the 7 feminine aspects that make up the feminine part of ourselves. So it's kind of like, opening Pandora's box and looking at all the conditioning that's impacted our feminine identity and reclaiming our authentic feminine power at each one of these 7 gates. And women physically look different by the end of it. It just, it's the most rewarding work. I watch women physically transform and transform their lives. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Sorry, I went a bit like it. Okay, so tell me a bit about what attracted you to the divine feminine and where you started on this path.
Well, if someone had said to me when I was a teenager or even, up until the age of 26, this is what I was doing, I would have gone, I thought a goddess was someone wearing a toga and maybe a wreath, But honestly, I think the reason that I've ended up doing this is because I was the most dysfunctional and disempowered woman I've ever met. It's that thing, often your wound becomes your strength,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I got down on my knees when I was 26. I was working as an exotic dancer, so taking my clothes off for money. And when I wasn't doing that, I was working as a stand-up comedian. So I was putting myself down for laughs, which is not really a recipe for self-esteem building. And, you put all that together and not a happy woman. I was really toxic, and I literally got down on my knees one night and I said to the universe, if you want me to be a woman, send me some fucking role models, So that was it. Within 2 weeks, it was like magic. My life fell apart and I ended up meeting a circle of women in the mountains and relocating, and they, initiated me into ancient women's mysteries. So it made so much sense to me, and I thought, my God, this is every woman's birthright, and I wanted every sister on the planet to have access to this because, I know as a young woman, I mean, by goodness, if I had known this stuff, I wouldn't have made the same sort of choices that I made, from binge eating to some terrible relationship choices, so I really, and here I am 21 years later, so I'm even more passionate about it, today. So I have a daughter, so yeah.
How amazing that she has a mother like you to teach her everything she needs to know.
Well, I think she's in many ways an older and more powerful priestess than I am. So, it's kind of who's teaching who. But yeah, humbling, the motherhood journey, more humbling than any path. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are mindful of that. Mm.
Yeah. So tell me then, how do you stay grounded? How do you nourish yourself spiritually while you're doing this work?
Okay. Look, in a nutshell, sisterhood, if it wasn't for the women that I have in my life, I don't know that I'd be sitting here in front of you, to be honest. I mean, part of embracing our femininity is actually embracing our soft and squishy bits. The fact that we are cyclic and there are times of the month when we really spiral down and we're put into our shadow, we're put into our vulnerability. And if we fight that process, we end up at war with ourselves, and that's when we end up comfort eating and numbing ourselves with substances, or running up a credit card bill, or sleeping with somebody in order to get sort of a feel good hit. And when we actually understand that the only thing to do is to embrace that downward spiral journey. So there are women that I sit with in my red tent circle, and we all get to go deep together and to feel that safe, to be able to journey into the scary parts of your psyche, into your greatest human frailties. That's the greatest gift we can give out each other. And when, as women, we feel that held and that supported when we're most fragile at that time each month, then the rest of the month we can feel like an Amazon, we're like Wonder Woman, because we've got that support, we've got that foundation. Whereas I think a lot of the hysteria that women feel that ends up often resulting in hysterectomies, all these women's problems, which is simply our inner self going, hey, Houston, got a problem here, because our modern world completely denies the feminine in every way imaginable, and the conditioning is so deep we don't even realize it. So in a nutshell, sisterhood and cyclic practices is what gets me through and what keeps me here in a body and grounded.
Yeah.
Plus I have massage once a fortnight. Self-care, it gets better and better with age. Women are like a fine wine once we learn how to embrace our feminine.
Yeah. I think a lot of women do forget that. It's like the thing that the media perpetuates about, not getting old. We don't see like really graceful older women in their natural state, and that's just like women get powerful more and more and more and more with age. And it's just like, we've just got it all wrong, haven't we? The way we're being taught.
You are Bang on. I'm doing an Australian tour at the moment and speaking specifically about rites of passage, and I've started going through perimenopause, which can take 13 years. I call it second puberty. You know, there's no one out there to teach us, you know, so it's huge. And I went to my 30th high school reunion 2 weeks ago, and that was living proof that life gets better as we age. You know, it's an illusion that life gets worse. When you think back to what we were like as teenagers, how self-conscious we were and self-critical, and going back to that reunion, everyone was in their hearts. You know, it was so healing. I recommend it as therapy. Apparently, skip the 10-year reunion, but by the 30th one, everyone's been so pummeled by life, there's no ego left, you know. And so we all have this greater self-acceptance and compassion for each other and sense of humor, you know. So it's, you know, it's all the inner qualities that develop with age. And so we become more graceful, more balanced, more harmonious. So whilst we might look physically, you know, plumper and I don't know, whatever, you know, the culture says is sexy, I think sexy is someone who really knows themselves, because they exude this self-assurance that you kind of go, yo mama, you know, like that's attractive. You know, for women, we're hitting our sexual peak in midlife. So this whole sort of cougar thing that's been put on us as a bit of a sort of mocking of our sexual power, it's because, you know, culturally we find the idea of a sexually, erotically empowered older woman just too much to even contemplate. You know, psychically we become more powerful. You know, women, as we get older, we become more magnetic, you know, which is the feminine polarity. So yeah, no, I'm all for, you know, taking women on that journey.
That's awesome. Okay, Tanishka, tell me about your morning routine then. Like, how do you set yourself up for the day?
Okay. Well, I've kind of devised what works for me, and I really encourage women to do that rather than taking some off the shelf, you know. So what I do is I do a series of asanas, Kundalini yoga, so active kriyas for each one of the chakras. So it wakes up my energy, all right? And I have really happy music. And I often sing along to it. So it's Sanskrit chants with a good beat. And then what I do, once I've gone through that and raised my energy, my chi, so I'm kind of powering up for the day, I then do a series of deep yin yoga poses, which takes me into deep communion with, you know, mind, body, soul, and really relaxes my nervous system. Because for women, our nervous system, it's actually our greatest strength, our sensitivity. But we need to caretake it, and we become more sensitive as we age. So doing, you know, I also have magnesium every day to support my nervous system. And then I'll meditate once I've done that. I think, you know, in the West, we've kind of got this idea that yoga is about being, you know, some sort of super flexible Amazon. And really the yoga postures were only meant as a preparation for meditation, to take us deep into alignment with the self, the inner self, the true self. So in meditation, I have a couple of my favorite crystals, which is selenite, which helps to anchor the higher self into, you know, the body temple, as well as rose quartz for unconditional love, and amethyst for, you know, helping to just open my intuition. And I'll use the violet flame just to clear any fear-based thoughts or lower emotional states, and call back my scattered energy from wherever it's been. And then I do the tree meditation, which I've actually recorded on one of my albums, but it's a way of plugging in to Mother Earth and to the great central sun and filling up your energy. Because if we're not filling up and balancing our masculine feminine each day, unconsciously we're stealing energy, whether that's by trying to, get attention, by looking great, or by being the victim and telling everyone our stories and, getting sympathy. But the ego is constantly like a vampire trying to get energy. So if we fill up with energy, we're not doing that. We're sovereign, we're sacred, we're whole, we're operating on all cylinders. So and then what I do is I tune in to my intuition, and I ask that I'm a clear vessel. I'll activate my inner meridians of feminine, masculine, so that I'm sort of balanced and whole, and opening up that central pillar, which is how we get those intuitive downloads, which is our real strength as women. And I'll ask to be a clear vessel for divine will and the embodiment of love. So, intention is everything. Energy follows intention. So I just find, not only am I a nicer person to be around, I notice the difference if I skip that practice, whereas when I do that practice, it just sets me up for the whole day.
Yeah, that's actually sounds like... I love the bit that you said about the stealing energy thing. I've never thought of it like that. That if you're not setting yourself up, then you are looking for it outside, and I've never thought of it like that. It's just so powerful. So tell me, this routine that you've set up, is this something that you've refined over time, or did you just wake up one morning with divine inspiration? Right, this is what I need to do for my morning.
Yeah, no. Moses with his tablets. I have refined it, and I've had, different teachers inform and influence me over the years as well. And, it's kind of like a recipe. You go, ooh, I like a bit of cinnamon, and I like a bit of this, and I like a bit of that, and you find what works for you, because, we're all a different instrument. So that's why I really encourage women to listen to their own bodies, to listen to, what works for them. And I have those practices in that Inner Goddess course that you're enrolled in. So, there's daily sort of mudras and mantras and yoga asanas to help, really activate your mojo. Yeah. But ultimately, it's meant to be fun, I mean, the word discipline can really put people off, So I like the idea of it being joyful, something that you go, oh, yes, I want to do my practice, it makes me feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's actually something that I mean, I know myself, I suffer from this, that sometimes I feel guilty that, oh, I should be doing something and I'm not. And actually having something that you want to do rather than another thing on the list that you feel like you should do, but you're not doing and you feel bad. And it's just a circle, it's a cycle of just like this, just self-perpetuating stuff that just makes you feel bad, when actually all these things are there to empower you and make you feel good.
It's so true. And guilt is so toxic. I mean, it's absolutely useless. It serves no purpose. So it just puts us in a downward spiral, and then it's harder to get out of that hole. So, I used to smoke. And so when I see people that are smoking cigarettes, I say to them, bless that cigarette. Don't whip yourself and, oh, I shouldn't be smoking. No, if you're going to have a cigarette, you bless that cigarette. Yeah, consecrate it, make it into a sacred ritual, but address what it is, what emotion that you're not wanting to feel. Yeah, often it's grief or rage or boredom. So it's about getting to, okay, why am I doing this behavior, and loving yourself so that you can throw away the crutches, like Forrest Gump, not need them anymore, rather than, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be doing this, Yeah, it all, true change comes from self-love, from kindness. Yeah, not from whipping ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So tell me then, what advice would you give to women who wanted to earn a living by following a more spiritual path, by doing something that they found fulfilling? So someone who was stuck in a job that they didn't find fulfilling and were maybe too scared to leave because they're thinking, money can be a real it can be a scary thing, can't it? Like being able to just leap and say, right, I'm going to free fall now. I don't have to rely on that paycheck every month. It's just, what advice would you give to women?
Okay. I would say rather than do the flying leap off a cliff, I would do it incrementally and gradually so that it's graceful. Okay. So, look at, you know, cutting down your hours to say, instead of working full time in a paid job, seeing if you can negotiate job share and doing, say, 4 days a week or 3 days a week, and bringing in, gradually bringing up your clientele, whether you're wanting to work as a healer, whether you're wanting to facilitate circles or run workshops or do readings, or write a blog or books. If you're doing your passion, it will give you energy. And if you're doing that on your days off, it will enable you to feel grateful for the fact that you're getting a paycheck rather than resentful. And when you can see an end in sight, it's like a beacon, It's like, for instance, the only normal job I ever had was proofreading police interviews. So listening to murderers and rapists, and when they brought in for their Q&A, right? And then that became sitting in courts next to the judge for the court transcripts. And so I started writing my first book, sitting up there next to the judge, because if it was, a court case that went on forever, there's a lot of time just sitting there. And so here I was being paid to write. It's like I was affirming, hey, I'm being paid to write. So I would just say, be creative and resourceful. Don't put pressure on yourself to have to instantly make an income that matches your, the skill that you're already doing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a gorgeous way of doing it. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. The way of the feminine ultimately is kind. It's loving. It's gentle. It's graceful,
Yeah.
Whereas the mind is like, you should be making this amount of money, comparing yourself with others, getting stuck in the rational mind.
Yeah. Oh, Tanishka, that's all my questions. Thank you so much.
Oh, bless you. Yeah. We need more and more women out there, expressing the feminine. It's time, it's been prophesized. I mean, the Dalai Lama says, the world will be saved by the Western woman. I feel that that's actually the feminine in both men and women in the East and in the West. And Nostradamus said that at this time in our civilization, the feminine would rise and transform all of society. And all the indigenous prophecies also say this. So, it's kind of like the wind is at your back. Yeah. You just need to believe in yourself, trust your intuition, and take one step at a time.
I got chills when you were saying all that, like all down my back. I got shivers. That's amazing.
Changing the world. Yeah. Yeah. And it's joyful. We don't have to be stuck on this rat wheel, sort of operating out of our masculine at a cost to our feminine. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. When you look at the rates of cancer, in Australia, the number one cause of death for women from 15 up until middle age is suicide. Now that's telling us we've got a problem, okay? Then from then on, it's cancer. And what's cancer? It's when the cells are eating away at themselves, not happy. We're not dealing with what's not making us happy. We're suppressing it, and it's eating us out from the inside. So we have to honor our inner self. We have to go, hey, this is draining me. What's my exit strategy?
Yeah.
And put it into place. And just incrementally, step by step, go, I'm trusting my inner self. I'm honoring my heart's knowing, and I'm putting it into action.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's so powerful. So just quickly before we end, Tanishka, I'm going to be sending out a link. You're doing a free webinar, right?
Yeah.
That leads into your Inner Goddess course. When is that?
Okay, so it's September 11. Here in Australia, I'd need to look at the time and date converter to see if that tips over into September 12 for you. But on the link, there's a countdown on the page, and it's converted into your time zone. So regardless of wherever your tribe is, we'll have their conversion up there for them.
Awesome. So it's not far away then. So that's great then.
No, it's really, really close. And I should say that, that's a wonderful way that women can access this information from wherever they are in the world. And we have an online sisterhood forum to support you through the journey. But the other alternative is, if we've got a few places left, if anyone feels called to come and train with me in person, there's an 8-day retreat, Inner Goddess retreat, happening in Bali. And that's September 27 to October 5. So that's the other alternative. But everyone is more than welcome to find out more at that free webinar. So, it just depends on how people prefer to learn or what their situation is. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Tanishka.
Pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a delight, and look forward to having you in the course.
Yeah, no, I can't wait.
Awesome. Beautiful.